So welcome everybody. This is CDC's Career Sprint. This is being hosted by the CDC and bilingual team together. Um, we are covering a lot of things, basically from resources to hiring trends to hiring resources to what a graduate student would require, and we'll be going over that in six different points. We'll be covering the 5 points, and the end there will be a guest speaker from the bilingual team who will be talking to you about French resources and how being a francophone is important, and how important French is in the job market in Canada. So moving on with our first part, we have the prominent career tracks in Canada. Next slide, Jyotich. So we'll be talking in this aspect. We'll be talking about some very important and essential roles that usually that every job posting in your market will definitely always have some things that are constantly in trend, where companies are always looking to fill these positions. So we'll be discussing and touching about these roles so that you guys understand what type of roles are relevant and what type of skills you need for these particular roles. And one of them and is a web developer role. So you'll be developing web applications, you'll be coding on the web, and you'll be using a lot of these programming languages listed below: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, Node.js. So you need to be regularly, at least if not skilled in one of them, so that you understand development as such, because there are so many other job roles that keep coming up. uh, a web developer postings are frequently given by Amazon Web Services and banking services like CIBC, TD, and etc. I think there was a graduate rotational internship program also by RBC that I think expired in October. So most of the time, these companies will be looking for students from not just one particular master stream, but many other master streams for web development roles. So this is one particular area that people can try to focus on. Next slide, Kshitij. This is the second most common position that opens up across many job postings. That is support engineer. That can either be a solution support engineer, or a technical support engineer, or a customer support engineer. So it will always be relevant with subject to a particular company, a company's product. And when there are customers using that particular company's product, they would be obliged to provide support. So this particular role will always be in demand as long as there are multiple companies coming up with a new product. So as I said, it's synonymous to both a technical support or IT support or product support. And this would also require minimal knowledge of development tools and monitoring tools, if not coding. And frequent postings are by AWS, Ericsson, SAP, and Adobe. I think people staying in Ottawa know very much about Ericsson's postings on support engineer and development roles. So you need to constantly check LinkedIn and Indeed for all these postings. And this particular career track is always up and online on LinkedIn. Next slide, Kshitij. Data analyst. This is the third most common job posting that is put across in websites. So I think everybody here who's both in engineering management, electrical system science, and mechanical and civil know what a data analyst does and how important they are in maintaining CI/CD pipelines. Uh, Basically, you will be gathering and analyzing company data and using that using certain visualization tools to put up this data for the customers as well as the company. You should not confuse this with a data engineer, because data engineers handle the data. Data analyst is just representing the data. So once again, both of those job roles are different. So when you're applying for data analyst, or make sure that you know what you're applying to. Some people think that both data engineers and data analysts do the same thing, but it's not. You can always check for posting from Deloitte, RBC, and Fortinet for Fortinet. So data analyst, like they have what do you call kind of quarter-based postings. So basically, companies try to update the requirements only on a quarterly basis, because most of them are on a project by project use case. So whenever there's a new project coming up, they technically try to hire people only in that segment. For example, there is an upcoming project that both Deloitte and Accenture are working on. So that is the reason, from the past couple of months, Deloitte and Accenture have started looking forward for graduate entry and entry level people to join data analyst roles. So this is one of the other career track. Next, uh, DevOps engineer. I think some people, like most of the people, already know about what a DevOps engineer is. Basically, it's a very new field, as in after the advent of cloud computing, this role has come up. So this person will be he'll be mostly responsible for maintaining data flow and tools and methodologies from one data unit to another data unit uh, uh, within the data ecosystem. Basically, this requires both extensive development knowledge and coding knowledge. And I think you again it's similar to a cloud ops or a engineer role. Basically, it's an operational role. DevOps has become very significant in the market once Google released their flagship Kubernetes tool. Basically, Kubernetes is a cloud computing technology that's being integrated in Azure as well. Like you have something called Azure Kubernetes services. So it's a very important technology that DevOps engineers usually work on. And so as long as you are very good with Kubernetes, like you can always apply for DevOps positions. And once again, frequent postings are always by AWS, SAP, Nokia, and Ericsson. If people are always people are interested to know why Google does not have much postings as such in Canada. But like when we researched and found out, like most of the relevant Google products that Google has a hold in Canada are restricted mainly to ads and other services. The development part, that basically what Google has an office in Waterloo, they are mostly focused on doing research and development only on those particular ad services. So there is not much what do you call positions open for developers and software analysts. If you see, like most of the people who are applying for positions usually know why Google does not have so many positions in Waterloo, but basically it's a regional restriction. Next slide. Software developer, yeah, everybody knows about this. You will be developing a product or a code or a web service for that particular company on projects or on a use-to-use basis or as a freelance. So it's again similar to a full stack developer or an analyst or a program analyst. As a software developer, yes, you'll be working on very particular use problems, but as a full stack developer, you'll be working with developing a web service, integrating it with another module, and deploying it. So there's a difference. Basically, it's a subset of full stack developer, but I think all of you understand. SDEs are always in demand. You always have a junior set of SDEs, you have a senior set of SDEs that are always in the market, they're always what do you call that, job postings always come up, either as a um, either as a project requirement or as a freelance requirement. So you can see most of these banking services or IT consultancies always looking for SDEs. Recently, I think all of you know about RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So Royal Canadian Mounted Police is coming up with a very large project. This is almost going to stretch for I think around 6 to 8 years, this project. And so they are in tie up with Deloitte to work on a massive development project. So in future you could keep an eye out for job postings from Deloitte as for STE, because it's an upcoming project that's that's coming up. So once again, yeah, that's on LinkedIn and Indeed. You can always check. And the next one is network engineer. I think most of you know what a net like it's the name is self-explanatory. So you'll be managing area networks, you'll be managing firewalls, you'll be managing network ecosystems, you'll be managing their VPNs. You'll also be handling some cybersecurity aspects, as in checking to see how well the system can or how well the particular what do you say software can withstand outside attacks. So basically it's a complementary job to what a cybersecurity analyst or cybersecurity engineer does. uh, and once again, you have frequent postings from Nokia, TELUS, and Microsoft. You get more postings from TELUS because TELUS, once again, they have, I don't know if it's a project, but they have a year-round requirement for network engineers, because they are planning to expand their telecom industry. So because of that, they have more openings for network engineers. You also see this from Rogers and Bell as well. And so yeah, this is about a network engineer. Next slide. And finally, this is a new track, that is an artificial AI or an ML developer. Basically, you'll be developing and running and testing AI models or neural networks to predict or determine some predefined output based on company data. This is once again on a use by use cases. Companies are recently starting to create a separate posting for developer AI ML developers, because they are understanding that few things that can be automated, that should be automated, and that that can't be done manually and that have to be automated, need AI ML developers. So this is a growing field. Like, there are not many postings as such, and most of the postings that do come for AI ML developers are very restricted to some particular products, like computer vision or TensorFlow or Kaggle related projects, like where they are specifically looking for developers who know how to build a machine learning model or a neural network to perform a particular task. So but this job, this career track is expected to at least have as far as what we've seen in the newsletters, around 25 to 30% increase over the next 5 years. So I would say always keep an eye out for this particular role. Next slide. Apart from these things, there are always a lot of non-IT related admin roles that are being posted regularly. So one of them is a project management role, a product management role, and operation management, a risk advisor or risk analyst, supply chain management or supply chain analyst, a production management role, and administrative consultants. So I think all of them all relate to one particular it's all a subset of management, basically. So as a project manager, you'll be working on maintaining, developing, and handling all resources under project. So most of the project management positions that do come up are from government of Canada and Deloitte, and to an extent Accenture. But once we looked into certain aspects, it would seem that project management, you there are no what do you call um, a junior what is such like project management is only offered to people who have a very vast experience previously in some other like as a developer or as a member of that particular project. So it is really like kind of difficult right now in Ottawa to actually apply or get into a project management role, as far as we've researched. Product management and operation management, yes, it depends on the company. Whenever they have a particular offering, or if they have a particular project that needs to go live, they always need managers for these positions. Risk advisor and risk analyst, you always find this in demand for all the banking companies, which require people to have a very good knowledge on uh, risk assessments and customer related relationship management for risk analysis. And supply chain management, and once again, this is one role that many people, especially from the mechanical background, ask me about, as to how uh, most of the where you get most of these job postings. Either it's limited to Ottawa, but you find most of these supply chain management and mechanical roles in Toronto, GTA, and Vancouver. But yeah, at the moment, we have not seen many such postings for supply chain management. But yeah, once again, it's a project based requirement. So if there's a project, you'll always have SCEMs. And production management, it's once again like they need an experienced person who has significant knowledge in how to manage the imports and exports, or production aspects of a company. And administrative consultant, basically every big company that's running on all the particular tools, they always need a consultant, or a person who can do the administrative tasks. So these roles are always spread out, always almost all the big four, especially EY and all the banking companies. So I think that's about non-IT. Next slide. So these are some topics that I want touch upon on what is currently happening, what projects might come up, and what you as an individual can work on skills to make sure that you can apply to these roles. So Nokia, I think you must have gotten to know the recent what do you say 6G development research that they're doing in tie-up with Ontario. Basically, it's only with Ontario. So they are doing that along with the 5G expansion in uOttawa. So there is a project that's going to come up from Nokia probably in the future, where they are planning to deploy an extensive 5G network on the uOttawa Canada campus. I think you guys must have heard of that. So you need to keep an eye out for that. And there is a 6G R&D that they are also coming up with, but there's limited information on that. Sienna, as such, Sienna always has multiple customer projects, and they'll always have frequent postings throughout the year. Ericsson has tied up with Carlton for one of their courses. I think people must have gotten an update from the university. So there was a new 5G course that was updated by Ericsson for students of Carlton. So they are expanding their 6G research as well in Ottawa, because both Nokia and Ericsson have a big R&D, or what is called a PDU center in Ottawa, that is specifically focusing on what do you say network bandwidth management and uh, telecom equipment. So that is there. Amazon, I think all of you know that they've opened a new warehouse, and they're looking for a lot of production management, supply chain management, and product management people to handle all the resources, their warehouse equipment, inventories. And so that has become a very it's they're not hiring as much, because as in the later part of the slide you'll get to know that Amazon is one of the companies that is also laying off a lot of people. But again, yeah, so Amazon has also set up an unit, but there are not much postings as such currently. um, Microsoft and Google have both pledged to expand a part of their operations in Toronto, because basically, apart from Seattle and New York and the West Coast, Microsoft and Google have a very limited operation in aspect, like they don't operate as much as well in Canada as they do in US. So they have with the increase of all the um, resources that are available in Canada. They have decided to expand their services, so you can always look out for positions from Google and Microsoft. There are certain roles from AMD that keep AMD and other processing chapters that keep popping up in Montreal that you can always look up to. This is for those people who are very interested in embedded system development and circuit design. So AMD also has a very frequent hiring spree for those things. TLS, I already explained, they're looking forward to expand their telecom industry in Canada. So they always look forward for security and network engineers. You always have openings from banking services because they are always opening a new like branch or a service, and whenever they're doing that, they need basically resources from all market levels. You need a management level, you need an IT related person, and you need an administrative related person. So you need all of those things. So you can always look out for banking services related to like all the postings from these. And SAP, yeah, SAP also has multiple products that have like started to grow in Canada. So they are also starting to hire for from like January. They also have a hiring freeze, which like we'll talk about in the future slides. Next slide. Um, Once again, these were all in private sector, so there are a lot of careers that are available from the government of Canada as well. And that thing which you can usually always look out for. The major issue that everybody brings up is like bilingualism, that that the government of Canada always requires you to at least show functional bilingualism. Like you should always know the difference between uh, like complete bilingualism and functional bilingualism. Like you don't need to know the complete French language to be get the job. You need to know French to an extent where you can manage whatever job description that the particular company gives. So that is basically functional bilingualism, and that is what they look for. Although it forms a major part of all of these government jobs, you have some posts where it is an English essential job or an English required job. So there are there, but it is very rare. Uh, More about this will be discussed by our bilingual team. Like in the end, they have a particular presentation about that. But in regard to what postings that are there, usually you can always look out for CRA Canada, Post Service Canada, Environment and Development Service Canada. You have Statistics Canada. So all of these. Government sectors will always keep hiring for students. There is an inventory called I don't remember the name exactly. It is Government of Canada run FSWP, I think. It is only for students. Like once you create that profile in GC jobs, I think all of you must know about GC jobs by now. So once you have that profile in, and basically you can your profile goes around to multiple managers across all of these government entities, and you have a chance of getting picked up by either, like you're not applying to a particular government entity, you're applying in general, and one of the managers of one of those entities will pick up your resume or something from the pool, and then you can go ahead with it. So you can always look out for that. And one thing, the government of Canada posts are, it it gives you a lot of exposure on how the government here works, and how actually the industry within the management thing within the government works. So you can always look out for LinkedIn and all the career sites. As I said, you need to check out GC jobs frequently. You need to make an account there. And you can, and as such, there was an event from PDC last time with Beneath, and how we explained on how to aggressively network on LinkedIn to make sure that your profile is visible. So you need to use that to always ensure that you can reach out to recruiters and HR specialists in LinkedIn, so that you can you can find a posting that is there in the Government of Canada website. Next slide. So as long as I explain all of these different positions, there are some things that by default or by the end you need to have, and this is irrespective of every other uh, what do you say role or whatever course that you're doing. You need to have this irrespective of if you're going to a non-IT field or an IT field. Everybody requires that basics in Java or Python, even if you don't know to code, at least the object-oriented programming principles of Java and Python, and why it is so important. All of you must know how to use PowerPoint, Excel, and Word properly, especially Excel with macros and formula editing. You must all know how to handle Windows and how like basic Windows issues from both. Usually, it is limited to Windows, but nowadays companies are also asking for Linux as well. You should always you should have good soft skills. I think many of you are in professional skills and responsibilities already know that how important soft skills and professional development, leadership development, and all that is important in your job role as well. So these are the general skills that you always need to have before applying to a job. So this is one thing. Next slide. These are a set of skills that we noted down. So the Career Development Center has access to what is called ATS. ATS is basically the AI tool that filters out resumes whenever you apply to a particular job role. So you can always use that tool to check how well and how important, like how where your resume is lacking in what roles. So when we have been using ATS from a significant amount of time, and when we started researching what you say all the job postings, like PDC has a lot of job postings throughout the year. Like we have many projects and many companies that come for tie up with us. So when we researched all of that and checked like which positions most of these projects that come to PDC, that come to University of Ottawa. So we made a list of that, and in that, like I think all of them are self-explanatory. You need to know Power BI, Excel, and Tableau for data analysis. For development, usually it's always C++, Java, and Python. For network, especially for you need the networking certifications like CISP and CIS, and it is you also have certifications from Fortinet. So those are some things that you need to check out. AIML, yeah, you need to have a very solid understanding about all of the machine learning methodologies. Cloud computing, as I explained, Docker, but Kubernetes most of the time. Web development, like for full stack development, you always companies or companies that you're looking for internships always ask for HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and with either with Spring framework or Spring Boot methodology framework. Some companies also have mobile app development, and you always need to know Flutter, Firebase, and Android Studio for that. And everything included when you're applying for a management position or administration position, you just need experience or some volunteer or some previous work experience that you've done where you've dealt with customers. So these are the skills that we have just extracted from what job postings PDC has been putting out from almost past 1.5 years. So these are the things that almost like you can see all of these skills in the future job postings as well. So if you're really interested to make an impact or get a job in one of these companies, we would like you need to keep an eye out for all these skills. Next slide. So this is like resources for all these things. So basically you don't need to always have a paid uh, you know a paid account or some of sorts to just upskill yourself. LinkedIn Learning has multiple what do you say courses that are offered for free. Not everything is for free, but yeah, you have some courses on LinkedIn, especially related to soft skills. You can always check out that. Coursera. I think there is something called Coursera for Campus. So basically, University of Ottawa has the tie-up with Coursera, where you can do a particular skills track or a skill certification, which is paid for free by utilizing your University of Ottawa email. So you can always check that out. GitHub Student Pack, I think this is one of a very useful resource for multiple students. Like it not only gives you access to IT tools, but they give you a student license to multiple management softwares as well, like management related tool softwares like something I think it was related to Gantt chart or something. It's been a while, so you can check GitHub and student pack. You basically need your student account, a student email to register for that. Google career certifications have come up recently, where you have four important tracks. You have a marketing or you have marketing, data analyst, support, and I think I forgot on the last one. So they have come up with a career track where you can just finish the course and Google gives you a certificate for free. So you can always check that out also for resource for building your skills. You have paid on-demand learning platforms called Udemy, Pluralsight, where once again you find all of these things, all of those courses to learn, like upskill, like in whatever previous slides we showed. But in case you're always like, no, I can't, I always need something free, then you always have everything on YouTube. Basically, YouTube has everything from A to Z that you need to know, so you can always check YouTube for anything that you need to learn. Next slide. So this is something I think this should be this would have been told in the what do you call professional skills responsibilities course, but again there is something called you can access some resources or books and stuff through Ottawa Public Library. So like the whole steps is just enlisted in the slide. So if you can use this as well, to get some books or some what do you say, some articles or some papers or such, and you can check this out. It's a very good what do you say resource, again publicly available. And next slide, I think. Yeah, so this is about all the career resources. Now I'm giving the mic to Kshitij, and Kshitij will be talking about the hiring trends.
Okay, so this part of the presentation is actually going to be presented by Prateek. So I'd like Prateek to step up and present. So I'd like to hand over the presentation to Prateek now, and I'll be covering the recruitment process.
Okay. Uh, just a second.
Likit, Pratik is not here.
Oh, okay. He messaged me that you would be taking. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this part in the hiring trends, we are just going to cover about the tech layoffs that's happening, just to get to know about why is it happening, and then the tech openings, and then something about the core sector and a few takeaways. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. Tech layoffs, this is kind of the big thing that's happening right now. Everywhere the news you see, this is the major talk that's going on. In general, we are trying to understand why tech layoffs are happening. So during the COVID time, most service-based tech companies grew big in terms of both the revenue as well as the hiring of people. But right now, since people are going back to pre-pandemic levels, let's say, for example, the Netflix is kind of losing its subscribers is one of the key factors you can also say. It's an indicator that people are going to pre-pandemic levels. So companies are not getting as much revenues as they got during the pandemic time, and rising inflation as well as interest rates. This affect the tech companies overall. So they are bound to go for a layoff. Again, these layoffs, if you look at the numbers, uh, the overall people, employees pre-COVID is still, if you compare the overall employees pre-COVID and the overall employees now, it is still higher. It's just that they have to reduce it, the employee uh, count, to just to match their revenues. And as we all know, the big names that Meta, Amazon, and Uber, Twitter, and everything else, every tech company is doing its layoff. Again, Twitter is a different scenario. It's due to leadership change. Next slide, please. This is just the numbers on how many people have been laid off since COVID-19 started. Again, next slide. Yeah, with respect to job openings, this is for we just had went to each company's website and just looked it up. So these are the live job openings as of last week. So again, despite having the tech layoffs, companies still do hire on a case-by-case basis. Whether I think like it did mention about like for data analysts, it's mainly if they have a project, they do hire people. So again, for people that are into software development and other stuff, just keep checking the company website. Don't lose hope on seeing the tech layoffs and stuff. Just keep on hiring, because again, it's still software is the key kind of thing, because there is still 1.5% of growth there by end of 2020. That is a projection as of now. I'm not sure. Maybe if more layoffs comes, that might change. But again, this is still the case. Again, the most prominent role in tech jobs is software development, which we saw a high number of postings. Next slide, please. Okay. On the core sector side, I know we still we have talked a lot about tech sector till now. Again, for core sector, which predominantly dominated by mechanical, civil, chemical, and biomedical, there aren't any layoffs as of now in the core sector. Plus, hiring is still going pretty good on the core sector, with the job prospect, let's say for the next 3 years, is good. This is data is from Job Bank Canada. As you can see here, we again did the same for, we went to each individual company's website and just looked up the job posting. Again, these numbers, whether you are qualified for every posting, that is a different story, because some more require French language, some require very high level of experience, some are just for freshers. So it's up to individuals and their skill sets to go through it and then check and apply for each posting. Next slide. Time period is kind of a crucial thing, I would say, because usually in November, December, this is kind of the slowest in terms of hiring season, because December, by end of December, you get the Christmas season and other stuff. So hiring usually slows down during November and December. But nevertheless, the best months are around the corner. Jan and February is by far you usually have the huge job postings. So more people get recruited during those times. So keep your CVs and cover letters up to date and start applying. And this is one of my favorite quote: "Time in the market beats timing in the market." This is kind of a stock market quote, but again, this can be still used for job hunting. So just because it's December, don't stop looking for jobs. Continue looking for it. And those who are looking for co-ops, get your resumes ready, because once Jan starts, the summer co-op positions will be open. So we have to apply it ASAP. Next slide. There are a few key takeaways for core sector people is that check for, if you're not that much experience, check for student and new grad opportunities. This is basically for people with less than 3 years of experience. Organization hire people for this role, and then they will train freshers, let's say for a year or two within the various department in their organization. So this will give them a very good base over the entire organization of how things are. And people, it helps the employees as well to grasp domain knowledge as well. And this is something em- job seekers has to do, is to register for engineering in training under the professional engineering Ontario. Different province has different accreditation. For Ontario, it is the EIT and the professional engineers. It is not a necessary criteria because you can still apply for it after getting a job. But again, some employers do have it in their job description. So better to have it beforehand. And if you are looking for to upskilling to have your skills portrayed in your resume, do have some certifications, let's say for CAPM, for project management, and PMP, again, and CSWA for SolidWorks and stuff. It is not compulsory to have it, nor whether it will guarantee you that whether having the certificate will give you a job. But again, it is a good to have during the job hunting. Next slide. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, hello everyone. I'm Kshitij, and we've talked about different courses that you can take, the different layoffs, different openings. But let's take a look at the hiring and recruitment process and what are the things that we need to keep in mind before we actually apply for jobs. So, the recruitment process, as we all know, it's the process where companies actively look for candidates to hire them and to fill up specific positions in their organization. Now, there's two types of recruitments: internal and external recruitment. Internal recruitment is when the position is filled by someone who currently works in the organization, or they also work in a way where an employee gives a referral and then that position is filled up by the candidate, which is deemed suitable. So the important thing to note here is that for internal recruitment, the candidates are more or less pre-selected. But in external recruitment, and this is the thing that we are focusing on in this presentation, it's the process where we actively look for jobs. We look on LinkedIn, Career Builder, Indeed, all those job portals, and we attend career fairs, campus recruitments to try and land a job. So application and selection, these are the two main aspects of the recruitment process that we are in control of as applicants. So taking a look at the recruitment funnel for every position in the organization, there's more than 250 applicants. So how do they actually boil it down to just one suitable candidate who actually lands the job? The first step in this would be, as Likit earlier mentioned, the ATS scanner. So it's a software that uses machine learning and AI to identify the keywords that you've mentioned in your resume, and based on those keywords that either filters in or filters out the candidates. So it's important to mention the keywords from the job description in your resume, which I'll be talking about in some time. So all the candidates that have been selected after the whole ATS screening process, the HR team actually calls the candidates, and it tries to understand the skills that the candidate possesses, or the experiences that you have, and how well these experiences align with the job description and the job requirements that they've posted. So most of the candidates by that time either lose interest, or they find better opportunities, or they simply just don't get back. And then the number considerably reduces down to around 20-25 candidates, which are then sent to the technical team. The resumes are reviewed, and then is when you are called for the interview. So big companies usually have 2 rounds or maybe even 3 rounds of interviews, and only after you go through all this entire process and all these interviews that one candidate actually lands the job. So things to keep in mind before we actually apply. First and foremost, read the job description thoroughly before applying. You just make sure you believe you're the most suitable candidate for the job. Comparing the job description with your resume. So this is where you want to tailor the resume and sort of add the relevant skills on your resume that the job description kind of puts out. Do your own research. So research the company, research their LinkedIn page, their social media. What kind of products do they have? What kind of clients do they have? What services do they provide? So this is to just better understand the framework of the organization, more to understand the work culture, to try and see how you fit better for the job, modifying and making necessary changes. So here's the thing. Let's say you are applying for a business analyst job and you have experience in both data analyst and business analyst. So you have to make sure you put the business analyst uh, skills and business analyst experiences on your resume. Otherwise, you may have the resume, you may have the requirements, but if you're posting the resume that has all your data analyst experiences listed, there's a very high chance that you may not get the job. Even about the keywords, so you may have the best of experience, the best of skills, but if you don't have the keywords mentioned on your resume, there's a very high chance that you're going to be filtered out in the first stage itself, because that's where the software is going to look for those keywords on your resume. One more important thing is that do not lie on the resume, because when you get a call from the hiring team or the HR team, they're going to ask you questions about your experience. They're going to see how they align with their job requirements, and they're going to know if you're faked it, because they will ask you follow-up questions based on those answers about the experiences. Do not copy lines from the job description. This is important because it sends out the message that you're lazy and you did not put in enough efforts. So you really want to make sure you show that you're putting in efforts and that you're actually interested in landing that job. Sticking to your strengths, you need to sort of include all the strengths that you have on your resume, all the relevant strengths, I must mention, and make a list of roles that suit your profile and actually apply to those roles specifically, because it doesn't make sense for someone with a data analyst background to maybe go for a project management job, because he or she won't have the right experience for it. Mistakes to avoid. So these are the four key mistakes that we need to avoid. First and foremost is that people apply for jobs without even knowing whether they are qualified for it or not. Like you might not want to apply for a programming based job if you don't have prior experience in programming. It's just going to be a waste of time. So some people don't keep track of their applications, and they try and send duplicate applications with the vision of maybe getting noticed by the recruiters, but it just makes you look sloppy. So yeah, that's something you don't want to do. Customizing your resume. A lot of people don't customize their resumes. As I earlier mentioned, the example with the business analyst and the data analyst. So it's important to make sure you're putting in relevant experiences and relevant skills on your resume before you apply for the job, or you're just going to come off as lazy. Some people don't follow up on the applications as well. So the key point here is to note that it's more about building a network. So even if you don't land the job, even if you maybe don't clear the interview, the HR team is still going to have your resume in the database. So it's more about building a network on the side as well. So shortlisting on resumes, this is to give you a bit of perspective on how recruiters look at the entire recruitment process. The first and foremost thing is that they build a specific and concise job description. So that is because they want people that are more suited for that particular job. They want it to be specific. They consult the hiring manager for this. Again, they look for red flags as well. They want to make sure you're not lying on your resume. They may even do background checks, like big companies like Amazon, Meta. They all make sure they do background checks for the experience that you've listed. Some of them may even ask for a list of references that you need to provide on your interviews. Keyword stuffing. Now, this is a funny thing that a lot of people try to do. They try and trick the software, the ATS software, by sort of including those keywords in their resume and then hiding it using text editors. But we need to know that after the whole ATS screening, after the whole HR screening, your resume is actually going to be viewed by an individual, by a human. So if he or she is not going to find those keywords on your resume, it's just going to be discarded. So there's no point keyword stuffing. That's why they introduce all these layers of testing in your whole screening process. So look beyond the minimum requirements for the job. So yeah, great, you put on all the experiences, all the relevant skills on your resume, but What more do you bring to the table? What are the other skills? Time management skills, say management skills, interpersonal skills. All these skills are important to be listed on your resume. Maybe even programming, as Likit mentioned earlier. Paying attention to details such as grammar, spelling mistakes, they are a bit. I mean, they do not reflect well on your profile. It does come off as a sign of unprofessionalism, so you might want to avoid that, because then you it drastically reduces the chances of you landing a job. Coming to the interview process, now I talked about the pre-screening where you get a call from the HR, they try and see how you're the best fit for the job. The next part is the technical interview, where you're actually asked technical questions relevant to the job requirements. It may be programming based questions, or maybe for a design based questions, or even calculations for that matter. So you're handed over a pen and paper, and you're supposed to solve or maybe answer the questions that you've been asked technically. The second part of the interview, after having cleared the first round, is where you're actually interviewed by a hiring manager or a panel of interviewers. So this is where they try and ask you questions based off your personality. They try to understand what kind of a person you are, whether you have decision-making skills, whether you can work in a fast moving environment. So this is the second round of interview. After having cleared this round is when you will get the offer.